There are two specific comedy gross-out gags that still repulse me to this day. Stifler drinking a semen-laced beer in American Pie, and Austin Powers drinking fat bastard shit in The Spy Who Shagged Me. Humor is subjective, and I freely admit there are probably viewers who found the whole thing hilarious. Both gags are based on similar premises, namely that the victim's drink is laced with something disgusting he's unaware of, and the audience really hopes he doesn't drink. After several false starts, it seems like the character might not drink the disgusting concoction, only for them to gulp it down as the audience roars. I'll give the writers this. Some thought went into the construction of the respective gags. It also seems that the writers build up to those gags well enough that there was decent motivation for the payoff. It didn't feel like the writing session began with the mandate, let's have Austin drink shit. However, I'd wager that 90% of the gross-out gags I read don't start that way. I wonder if bodily fluid gags are ever as funny as the writer thinks they are. Too often they feel just like that. Gags. They serve no larger purpose in the script, nor do they advance the characters and don't have anything to do with the story thematically. The gag only flows from the writer saying, hey, I figured out a great way to cover someone in semen. A few years ago, I read a script where some guys decide to have some fun with a sleeping friend. While he snores, they turn on a vacuum cleaner and set the tube so it sucks on his penis. That's only half the joke, as he suddenly starts to wake up. Panicking, his friends pull back the tube and try to shut off the vacuum, but succeed only in going from suck to blow. Yep, that means our poor guy who was just trying to take a nap ends up with a face full of semen. Now, normally I'd feel bad about ruining such a seminal gag, but the fact is that even if such a joke were so unique that talking about it here would force the writer to remove it, said removal would have no impact on anything else in the story. And why is semen the go-to fluid of choice lately? Is it just that American Pie broke that taboo and every urine joke is seemingly be told by now? I recall that one of the first slush pile scripts I ever read at my first internship dealt with a single woman who buys frozen sperm samples. Naturally, she keeps these in the freezer, and guess what happened when she threw a party and the guests realized they were running low on ice? Inspired, isn't it? Then about 2 months later, I read the exact same gag, except the setup was a guy was worried he'd be impotent after surgery, so before he goes in, he freezes his semen in an ice cube tray. Face it, folks, you're not going to come up with an original way to deliver bodily fluids for laughs. I guess my point is that it isn't inherently funny to use semen or diarrhea in ways outside their normal context, nor is just being gross justification enough in itself. In the two produced examples I mentioned at the top of this video, the humor really comes from the close calls the victim has with ingesting the fluid. That's where the comic tension lies. If Stifler immediately took a swig of his beer and gagged, it wouldn't be damn funny. Ideally, I'd ask you not to include such gags at all, but if you must, I beg you to really ask yourself, is this funny? Why is this funny? Words every comedy writer should hear. Just because something makes you laugh doesn't mean it's funny. Got questions? Leave them for me in comments. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you back here next week.